Perfect. All right, I'm gonna let everyone in and we'll get started.
God, it's like a virtual conference. Letting everybody. Okay. No. Awesome. There won't be any trick questions, don't worry.
Oh, I want there to be.
Oh no, yeah, we'll keep you on your toes. We have a lot of hard questions.
Good luck. Good luck.
Oh, good luck, guys.
Good luck. This is where I thrive.
This is not a test, I promise. We're not throwing anybody under
Oh,
the
I hope
bus
it's
here.
hard. I hope it's hard and frustrating. I love it. Bring on all the hardship.
Sounds like
So
a
many
plan.
hardships. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
All right.
Yay.
So yeah, so I'm gonna get the ball rolling here. So hey everybody who's tuning in. I know we have a lot of people from all over today. I'm Morgan Taylor with the Women in Film Project, and I'm so excited to have this conversation today. Today we're having an exclusive interview with the cast and crew of Blood, Sweat, and Cheers. And yeah, we have such a wonderful group. I'm so excited. I have some questions here. And as we go through our conversation, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. And towards the end, we'll be able to take questions from the audience. Cool. So yeah, we'll just get started. I have a question for Tracy about
here,
our
let's start with
fabulous director. We'll start with you.
Oh, good. Get it out of the way.
Oh, yes. And actually, I do want to also put a little spoiler alert here. If you haven't seen the film yet, go check it out on Tubi, because we will be talking and there will be some spoilers, fleshed out today. But for you, Tracy, the visual language of this film, it's so specific with the colors, with the camera movements, with all the visuals. What are some of the choices that you made that really communicated specifically what's going on in Renee's head versus her reality, and how did you communicate that as a director?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think from the very beginning, I knew that the visual, like we could really elevate the project just through the visuals. And I think that for me, it was how to communicate our Renee stuck, like to show her like stunted growth, like that she never really made it past high school mentally. And so that was reflected in how we approach the style and the visual language of the film, with her world being fully in pink, which is funny because I personally hate the color pink, but I was like, you know what? This movie needs to be dripping in pink because it feels, so in line with all the films, the nostalgic films that I was thinking about that inspired just the whole visual look to begin with, like Heathers and Clueless and Breakfast Club and anything that really John Hughes touched in the 80s and the 90s, and Mean Girls in the early 2000s. And I thought, what a better way to visually communicate our lead character's stunted growth than through a color like pink that's associated with youth and young, being youthful and young. And so that was a pretty big conscious choice on my part. And then it also reflected in the wardrobe. I know this is kind of, we'll get into more of that probably later, but yeah, I mean, it was a conscious choice from every character and what they brought to the table. And then in terms of the visual style with the camera movement, that was born out of ingenuity and what we had resources and time to do, and what the budget would allow as well. So you'll notice in the movie, a lot of it's not handheld till the end, and that was a conscious decision because our lead character kind of spirals out of control. So I know that there's the first spoiler, but yes, that was a conscious decision with showing her reality falling apart, and also like what she believed versus what was happening. So we had moments in the film where we're inside of her perspective, and we had lighting cues and like something that it wasn't natural happening to sort of signify her spiral down the rabbit hole, so to speak. So yeah,
Super cool.
it wasn't just me. Yeah, crazy fun.
Oh, definitely a team effort. And from that, Tammin, you did such a marvelous job really bringing Renee's unique character in this spiraling as well to life. What was it like really transitioning from those two perspectives, going from essentially playing Renee to playing Cherie?
It was just like my family life brought to life. It was just super easy. Like I was like, this is who I am. No, I think for me, as a mom, especially a mom of a 10-year-old, there is a feeling of loss. My child is biologically moving away from me because she needs to be able to survive in the world. And because of that, she pushes away her parents, which is what she's designed to do. And, I always find these anti-heroes that I play, and I love playing. I love being able to show empathy and vulnerability within characters that you're not supposed to love or fall in love with. And I'm always like thinking, how can the audience go on this journey with her, but also not like her, but also be confused why they might be rooting for her. And I think that in life, we all have so many different facets to who we are. And I think that this was just elevated on a bigger stage when it came to like how wild and crazy she got. But I think we've all had the feeling of what it feels like to feel invisible and to not feel seen and to be desperate to get your youth back. Maybe not Monroe, because she's like literally just came out of the womb, but other people like, like I feel like as you get older, especially when you're 30, I'm in my late 30s, and as you can continue, I feel like there's that feeling of feeling suffocated, that you're losing your childhood, your identity. And so for me with this character, it was like, how can I draw from my own life of feeling lost and loss of identity and feeling invisible? How can I inject that into this character? And yeah, I mean, I play these wild characters that are so fun, but at the end of the day, they have to be rooted in some kind of truth. And, it cost me at the end of the day. It seems like a fun ride, but at the end of the day, I was exhausted and emotionally spent because the character was in pain, and I think that we all are able to draw from that. So it's like, yes, she was so top, but we all know what it feels like to feel lost and to feel, like we want to be seen in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's so powerful. And coming from that, you said that you're exhausted by the end of it because it's an emotional journey that your character is going on as well. What were there more difficult scenes to shoot from that perspective as far as emotionally?
Yeah, I mean, the scenes with Monroe, like I didn't really have to prepare, obviously she's a wonderful actress, but it's also that feeling of like, I know that at some point my 10-year-old and my 4-year-old will leave me. And I just, even thinking about it makes me emotional. And just like those scenes, I think everyone would think it's difficult because I had to be emotional. That was not the difficult part. It was that I had to not let it affect me in my afterlife of the movie, because I still had to come home and be a mom, and I was kind of ripped to shreds. So it was difficult in the aspect of like having to like not fall into a hole after doing, because normally on screen, like on Pretty Little Liars or whatever, it's like there's such wild situations that you're just like, oh my goodness, my house just blew up. Like that's not how you don't bring that home with you. But feeling like the loss of a child, I think you can bring that home with you. So that for me, I had so many highs, but I also felt kind of depressed in moments. So I think that was interesting. A lot of comedy comes from that. So I think that was the hardest part.
Yeah, definitely. And Courtney, when you play Lana, it's sort of that same type of relationship of a sister to a sister, like those relationships that we have in our real life. What was that like, and did you bring personal experience from your life to prepare for that role?
Well, I have an older brother who's more of like the constant. I'm more of like the woo. So it was fun to play the opposite of truly me. But I feel like it all boiled down to wanting love, same thing, like wanting love, and you love your sibling and you want the best for them, but also you have this niece that, yes, you're not getting that from your sister, but you can have that relationship with your niece. So, Monroe's character, I felt like I looked at that as like somebody that I needed to take care of, and we both were getting what we were missing. We were getting it from each other. And
Yeah.
although I wanted, my sister to be in a better place, I couldn't fix that. So I had to pour that love that I have for her into my niece.
Mhm.
That's the way I looked at that.
Yeah. And that almost puts Monroe, you're almost put it in the center of a love triangle, so to speak, of the aunt, of the mom. What do you feel like for you, sort of your relationship with the characters? What does your character really want from the mom or from the aunt? How does that
I think I really want to be seen for who I am and not like kind of a projection of what my mom wants, because it's very obvious, like from the beginning, my mom is kind of projecting all of her dreams on me when it's not necessarily what I want. So I think I just want to be seen as Cherie, quite literally, and not as a mini Renee, I guess. And I think I look for that in my aunt, and I look for it in my dad, who I end up moving in with, like at the top of the movie, because I need to find love somewhere, and I'm not getting it from my mom, so I have to go to those close to me. And I think I missed that in the squad as well, because it's like a sense of family for me. So the fact that I quit the squad is huge, because it means that my mom was that overbearing to make me leave a separate family. And my own mom, like, it wasn't that hard for me either, because like I've seen like little bits of that in my own mom. Sorry, mom, but like she's very youthful, and obviously not to the extent of Renee, but like it was easy to draw from, because I did have kind of a dance mom growing up. But the same kind of thing, like one of 6 kids, it's like you want attention and love, and you'll get it where you can.
Yeah. And do you think that your character had an understanding of what Renee was going through as well? Or was it more, there's a conflict there of the two, what both of the characters want?
I think we have a lot of miscommunication, because for saying like, don't make the same mistake as me, I take that very personally. That's like your mom saying she regrets having you. That's how I took it. Whereas she loves her child, you can tell, but it's like, I'm young, and I'm kind of have horse blinders on, and so I don't really see the complexity of the situation she's in. I kind of am just focusing on how it affects me selfishly in my daily life, and what I'm seeing is my mom's not there for me, in the places I need her to be there for me.
Yeah. I want to shift from that into what was that?
I said it's really sad, but like,
Yeah.
comedy is tragedy, and like Tammin was so easy to work with, because she, like you said, she brought so much truth into the character, whereas like on a page it could easily be a caricature, but it was so grounded and so real.
It was a little bit of a caricature. It was a little.
So it's not to say that there wasn't room for playing and like just like being a kid, but it still underneath all that, it was like very rooted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Even with the caricature pieces, I had a question for Aaliyah, because your character Dorinda on paper may come across as a mean girl, as far as like a motif or a caricature. How are you able to find empathy with your character and play her?
Yeah. So we don't really go into Dorinda's backstory or anything like that, but in my mind, prepping for the role, I really envisioned Dorinda as someone who doesn't have a good home life. And so this team means a lot to her. And in a way, the way I saw it, this was my family, and this is a threat to my family. And I don't know what she's about. I don't like it. I don't know what's going on. And I'm just there to just sniff out whatever business she's up to, type of thing. And I found empathy for my character through that, because I just think that she's trying to protect her safe space, her home, and her people. I think that's very relatable too. Maybe some people aren't as aggressive about it. but that was the motive, you know. I really, it was a protection thing, and maybe a little bit of insecurity there too. So also a grounded situation, but maybe a little bit inflated at the same time. It was very fun to play Dorinda. Yes.
Yes, don't forget all the wonderful dancing you guys did too. It was like having to come in and both be, you know, just on point, you know, with all your character work, you know, Kaylin, Monroe, Elliot, and Tammin, you know, learning these dances and also preparing for the role with very little, shall we say, a week and a half
Right.
to learn these dances. I mean, Monroe learned the dance on set. So I mean, it's just crazy. I'm just like, yeah, I tried to learn and I did not get very far.
Did you try to learn?
I tried to learn the dance.
Like you
I
were
was,
just
like,
sitting in your
getting-
hotel room, just like trying to learn it. Like why?
No, definitely did not have that much time on my hands.
I
I'm
can
like
see you
watching the
being-
video. I'm like watching the video on rehearsal on repeat. Trying, no.
I still think we should have all done the routine together, but we
Yeah.
never got
I
around
would've-
to it. Not enough time.
Would have, guys. Sorry, I
Equal.
let you down.
Cast and crew taking center stage.
There we go. Yeah, dance over.
Yeah, as far as the dance, like those costumes were really, really cool as well. This is both for Aaliyah and Kaylin and whoever else wants to jump in. What was it like really going to the fittings and getting a chance to be in on that very Heather's wardrobe?
Oh yeah, fun.
Okay, I'll go first. It was really, really fun. I think the fitting was like one of my favorite parts. Just going in and seeing all the outfits. And Tanya kind of had like a color scheme, like the oranges and the yellows, which I loved, especially against my skin tone. I just thought it was so beautiful. And it was just so fun, like seeing all the different looks. It's totally different from me in real life. So it was just fun, like kind of stepping out of my element, doing something I don't usually do. And then the wardrobe team was just so amazing. And it was fun. It was like playing dress up for me. So I had a good time.
Oh, yay.
I'm gonna second that, and I loved my outfits. I loved my look. This is exactly what I wanted to look like in high school, but totally didn't. I totally missed the mark. Like I thought I was all grungy and bad, but you know what? I hope those pictures never come out, because I had like I had the teased hair, the bangs that came from over here this way.
Oh no.
I had
So-
braces. I had one band that went from there to there, like when I was in high school. Yeah. And the first kiss that I had in high school, his braces stuck to my braces.
Ooh.
It was real sexy, guys.
Dude,
Of course that happened to you. Of course. What are
course.
they? Remember the chokers with the what are those? The like tattoo.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, tattooed.
I wore
I had
it.
that. I had that punk phase. That's the 90s. I'm just
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was hilarious too is that my fitting was back to back with Aaliyah's. So like Aaliyah's showing up with these like adorable, cute outfits.
And you're like, wait.
Frumpy McFrumperson, and they like got frumpier and frumpier. I was like, yeah, well. this is-
I'll piggyback on that. I would go into hair and makeup and just look at these ladies getting like glitter, rhinestones, lashes.
Right.
I would be like, oh. And then it
You
literally
think that.
like, boop, 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 you're
Yeah,
done.
but you
I was
think
like,
that. We were in makeup, Tracy. We were in makeup half the movie. I
oh,
swear,
but
like
it looks
you know how they say you have 12 hours to shoot? We only had 6 hours to shoot because after every scene was a different makeup and a different look. So it took at least 45 minutes between each look to get into the next one. So we must have cut out 4 hours a day just in makeup. Must have.
I mean, you
Especially
know what?
with all
And they
your
were-
friends.
Yeah.
and they were moving fast. It had nothing. It was just like I didn't realize. You know, you just don't realize. Oh my gosh, you've got 6 wardrobe changes in one day, and we literally can't even shoot the day because that's 6 hours, 7 hours of hair and makeup. So we had some MacGuffin, or whatever you call. We had to like figure out a magic trick to figure out how to reshuffle things.
Tracy never, I say you never got worked up. Like that is one thing that I learned from, like, I always try to take something from the movie. that I've done. And I took away from this movie learning patience, you know, because you have had so much patience in like I try to with my children, but there was so much chaos and you were steadfast the entire time. There was never a moment that people would look to you and we felt like we were out of control. And that is a sense of power in a way, like just to be able to do that and make sure no one else felt like they were unraveling, like was incredible.
Yeah.
Like, that is something that I need to learn.
I mean, yeah, maybe in my personal life, right? You're like set life. It's like great. Let's calm as calm as a clam. But I do think we were very lucky. Yeah, we got a lot done in a very short amount of time. So I feel very lucky that we had such a supportive cast and crew that was ready to show up, and they all showed up ready to play. Like, let's do this thing. They were just like, let's do it.
It was so good. So good.
Yeah. And how long what was the actual process of shooting? How many days, weeks did you guys have together?
Less than 3 weeks.
15 days of shooting, right?
I think it was less. I think it was 14.
Wow.
It might have been, yeah, guys, that was crazy what we did in
also
14
to
days.
Piggyback on that as well, like something that I loved about working with Tracy is that she was so deliciously and perfectly frugal with her words between takes in terms of what she wanted. I've worked with a lot of directors who, God bless them, they're brilliant, but they're also like profoundly verbose. And Tracy was so good at being like, it's that like this like one or two sentences, and you're like, like she knew exactly what you needed in that moment to go back in and nail it, which I very much appreciated, and I think that is a skill that is wildly impressive.
She'd just be like, don't do that again.
Don't
say to me like, whatever you did, do the opposite. I'd be like, okay.
No, I was trying to remember. I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was when Tammin and I were shooting the scene of that's it, I'm pulling the plug, you're on suspension. And just between takes, and there were a million things going on, they were resetting, and you were like, Rin, and you just pulled me aside and you said like one sentence, and it was like light bulb, and that was it. I can't remember what the hell you said, but it was brilliant.
Was it something about being a sergeant or something, maybe about like a drill sergeant or something?
Yeah, and it just helped like just put it into perfect focus for me, and it was
yay. Well, that's you guys, I'm like
so authentic. Ryan, as a teacher, like when I watch you, I'm just like, you are that character. It was
who, me?
You were so good. Like it was so great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Listen, I'm a little
loves killing you.
That my friends, my very close friends who have seen the movie, they're all like, there is so much of you in that character. And I'm like, yeah, you don't realize that about me. I love a good dad joke. I crack myself up all the time. And like, I feel like, and also I'm a teacher. I teach private acting as part of my career. And so, and like part of connecting with kids is to be unapologetically you, to get them to relax and open up and connect. So it was fun. I had far too much.
Wait, I wonder if anybody caught the moment where you're walking away and you catch Tammin as character making out with her new boyfriend in the hallway, and you see
my favorite part.
And you see the toilet paper stuck to your foot. That was brilliant.
Oh, that's I told her, didn't I say put the toilet paper in? Did
I think that was Tammin's idea. Yes, it was. I cannot take credit.
Walked away.
I remember I said, and all those ideas, Tracy was like, no, we can't do it. And I'm like, we have to do it. Like, we have to do it. We have to.
Yes.
I'm so glad that stayed in.
Yes, and then you on the toilet taking the call with AP Robinson. That was all you, Tammin. You're like, I'm gonna sit on the toilet and talk.
I don't even know if it's because you trust me. I think it was like you just weren't willing to like have the conversation, to like waste time by saying no. So you just said yes because you're like, we don't have time to communicate about this. Like, I'm not gonna fight you. So I just be like, I'm gonna try this. You're like, okay, whatever.
Let's try it. No, I mean, you know,
like, just comedy. Do it. Whatever, just hurry up.
Comedy just comes from, we got very lucky. We got it. We didn't have that much time to improv, but I feel like
and with Doug too, like it was so fun.
Oh my gosh.
I loved it with the door and like trying to get out, and
That was all you guys. I don't know. You're
I almost
awkwardly
feel like-
perfect.
I almost feel like all the like added comedic moments were so great because they weren't overthought. They were just so in the moment and like on the go. So they weren't like premeditated and like, because you know when you watch a comedy and you're like, oh, like here's comes a joke, and it's like all very unexpected. It's you. It's really
Yeah.
turned out really.
Interesting.
I didn't even have the time. Like Courtney and I had this one scene, and it was literally like 10 seconds, like it's like 2 minutes, 1.5 minutes. And we had like 1.5 pages. And they're like, action, I'm like, oh, we don't even run our lines yet.
Yeah.
We just
And,
whatever
and
came
then
out.
after, and then after it was like, all right, we're done for the day. And I was like,
And they're like, wait, what? That's
that
when you have
wasn't
to be
a
on your
rehearsal.
toes.
We just shot it. Okay.
Yeah, you're like, we're
But
good.
you know what? If the authentic adrenaline rush was there,
Yes.
let me tell you, that scene would not have been what it was without you guys just going for it. I think we had 15 minutes to shoot the last end scene to when she breaks up a little moment between somebody. I'll leave it at that. Maybe not the
Make
spoilers. But
out
anyway, she
Aggressively.
breaks something up and they're like
Unbeknownst
at
to
the
me.
door arguing. Yes.
I was like, okay, we're doing this. And the camera's rolling.
10 minutes and one or two takes. Yeah, but you just go for it. And everybody was down to play. So
Yeah.
I think that energy shows. So
Yeah.
yes.
It definitely speaks to the skill of everybody on the team and how well you guys were working together.
Everybody.
Yeah, Doug, I want to talk about stunts. You know, in the spirit of we keep spoiling many things here.
I know.
Uh,
Let's do it. Let's spoil alert. Let's everybody
What
plug your
thing-
ears who hasn't
yes.
watched
If you
it.
have not seen it, go and watch it and come back. We'll record it. But Doug, you got to work on some very fun stunts. What was it like doing your own stunts? And feel free to spoil away with what those stunts are.
It was pretty cool. I will spoil this in that AP Robinson gets hit by a car, but Doug the actor had to run into the van, and that's the way that trick shot was done. So, and that was pretty good because I actually have on my phone, I have a video of us watching the playback. I think Tracy's standing there, and it's like you just see me into the. Everyone's just giggling their heads off, and then it ends up being pretty gross. In the movie, I was kind of like, "Oh, did she back over? What's going on? My God!"
More
Yeah, so I
violent
was
than
actually like, it was a little more. When it was said and done, I was like, "Wow, yeah, I really died." Sorry, spoiler.
And I feel like my car I feel like I should have gone a little further than up the road. Like I literally like go back over you and then I'm like, oh, here's a good spot. Like the parking spot in the corner. I'm right there. Like, you think I would have driven like to try to get on the freeway, get out of town? But I'm like, nah, we're just around the corner.
No, you guys. Movie magic. They don't actually know how close you were, but you.
It
you
seemed
got,
like it was around the corner. I was like,
well, you were at the same school. The crazy, her crazy character literally goes back to school after hitting her principal. I'm just saying, she lost her marbles. Oh my God. So yeah, but there's more than one stunt scene here that happened with a certain cupcake.
Yes, Ryan, I spoke to Tracy a little bit before the call, and I feel weird keeping on spoiling everything, but you had a fun scene. I was told that it was
the very first scene that we filmed. I arrived on set and they were like, now we die for 3 hours. It's like, great. Yeah.
Was that your first death scene on camera?
You know what? It was indeed. And a couple of months, not a couple months, more than a couple months prior, I had done my first death scene on stage. So it was a year of death scenes for me, which
But does she die? We don't actually know.
well, and also too, I don't know if I told you this, Tracy, but I didn't know that I didn't die in the movie.
What?
Yeah, I have no idea. And I'm sitting there watching it with my husband, and the text pops up that Jenkins is still alive, and we both were like, "What? Oh my God!"
You're like sequel.
See, I know.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna be in a sequel.
Doug, you're like, darn it. Maybe he gets reincarnated as a ghost or something.
Right.
Be a zombie. I used to be in a zombie TV show. Why not?
The fun fact about that cupcake, God bless the props
Oh.
master who made the cupcake. It was the consistency of a brick.
Yeah, when we, I remember, yeah,
I tried it.
It was so hard to.
You try, yeah, it was tough because it was just like one of those things where it was just,
I think
you
it's
know,
because it had to be
troubleshooting.
glued. I think it
Yeah,
had to be
I think
glued
it had
through.
to, yeah, which is totally great, but also it was like
That's my fault. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
Sorry.
no, it's okay. It was fun.
She's like,
Did you
what
get
is that?
dizzy when you die? Like, because when I have to scream or whatever, I feel really lightheaded. Did you get dizzy having to not be able to breathe for that scene? Like, did you get lightheaded?
Not really, actually. And I think it's because when I did the death scene on stage earlier in the year, I had to, this is random, but it was after I died, I was carried down to the foot of the stage. And so I was very, very close to like the orchestra seating, and I had to be there dead for like another 15 minutes. And so I was coached on shallow breathing exercises on how to it's basically like really slow box breathing, and I'm also a singer, so like it for me that was just, it was just like basic breathing exercises, really. It wasn't yeah,
Like, it's easy.
challenging. Yeah,
That's so funny. You didn't know that your character did it. That's
no
amazing.
idea, no clue.
Yes.
Yeah,
See,
thrilling.
yeah.
That's so cool. There's another little prop slash motif. Let's talk about the bubble gum. Yes, it's a character all on its own. This is whoever wants to hop in. Tracy, you kind of added in, or I'm not sure who added it in as an idea, but there's bubblegum as a big motif here in the film.
Yeah, I thought we were like, one thing, obviously, we have Barbara was an incredible script writer, and obviously I loved reading the draft. I thought, for me, I thought, how can we add a visual cue of what it means to be rebellious youth? And I thought, what could be better than bubblegum? Just, you know, it's like you see the bubblegum under the chair, and then the bubblegum became its own thing, especially with with Mrs. Jenkins, and it just kind of, to me, it grounded, like, it gave, I don't know for Tam and how it worked, but I just like the idea of like visually showing, obviously besides her physical transformation with her wardrobe and how she redid her hair and all that, like what a rebellious, what her idea of like what it means to be in high school again through the bubble. So that was a whole thing. Like, we had to wait on bubbles and get the right bubble gum, and we had to chew it 5 minutes before the scene, and we had to wait on the bubbles. It was a whole thing. It was a whole, none of those bubbles in that movie was CGI, guys. That was all real bubblegum. All bubblegum.
And I would get so frustrated. Like, I didn't realize how much pressure I had put on myself for the perfect bubble.
Yeah,
Because I would
every
get
bubble.
very frustrated. There's one bubble in the movie that isn't a big bubble, and I like can't even watch that scene because it's like this baby bubble that I'm like, that is the worst bubble anyone could blow. Like, I can't even watch it. It's horrible. But like I had to really work, and she was like a drill sergeant on those bubbles. Like, it had to like be perfect size. It had to pop at the right time. But so yeah, I did do a lot of bubble chewing in my hotel room homework. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
you were like chewing it off camera as we were in between takes, because I didn't know that you can't chew bubble gum and
Well,
be
that's
ready
right.
in 5 seconds.
You can't just, little known fact. Now you guys know you can't just chew a bubble and pop a bubble. So you can't just chew bubble gum and pop a bubble. It takes at least 5 minutes to get into it. Like,
It's a real problem,
thing.
guys.
It's a real thing.
Kaylin and I witnessed this exactly because we filmed both scenes back to back, where Kaylin and I are running down the stairs, and then you're on the corner of the stairs, and you were having to chew and chew and chew and get that bubble just right. Kaylin, do you remember that?
Yes.
I was serious.
Yeah. It's hard work. Someone's gonna do it.
I see.
Gonna do it.
Super cool. There's another question here in the chat about the wardrobe, specifically Tanya's wardrobe. Was there motivation behind Tanya's wardrobe in a way that stands out as the leader of the other girls on the dance team?
Oh, interesting. I loved Yellow because I just felt like it was like the war, like because I felt like Tanya was a warm and cheerful character, somebody who was more inviting than Dorinda's character was. Just she had more openness, and so I thought that was sort of where the at least for the color scheme came from, was just the kind of mediator, I felt like, in between, you know, all these characters who, you know, she was more of a lighthearted, optimistic, remind me of a sunflower. I don't know, like, yeah, just very bright and cheery. So
Love it. And
yeah.
I also heard, is there a fan, I forgot what it's called, like a fan thing surfacing about the wardrobe, where there's a group of people on social media who are becoming fans of the wardrobe of it. And
Yes.
can you hear more about that?
Oh no, there was someone on social media who they love the movie and they love the high school movies, and we're picking out their favorite wardrobe for all the girls. Yeah, it was cool for the dance. It was very sweet. I was like, I think Alicia, the costume designer, was like beyond, you know, flattered. So it's cool to see people are taking the time to screenshot their favorite, you know, outfits. You guys had quite an array. So,
I'm glad they're
yeah.
getting the recognition. Alicia and Drew did their thing for sure.
Yeah, they're badasses, and and they found, I don't know where they found all that stuff, you guys. I don't know where they dug to the bottom of some pile, but they just, anyway, yes. So great stuff.
Very
Yeah.
cool. I have a question here for Monroe as well. As a professional dancer and coming off of Don't Worry, Darling, how did you bring that experience into your role as Shorty?
I feel like dance is so fun to incorporate into movies because it really takes you out of your head. At least for me, like, because you're in your body and not in your head. And yeah, I think it was really fun. It was definitely a nice prep for this. Way different style of dancing, different era. But yeah, it always helps. It's fun, and I think it brought a different energy to this movie as well, like adding dance. Because I think a lot of the crew was excited about it too, because you don't always get to do a movie with dance in it. So when you do, it's a real treat.
And here I was freaking out about it because I'm like, we have no time, and we have to learn how many dances, and we have to film how many dances in less than 2 days, the whole finale of the film. It was crazy, but it was fun. It was
Yeah, it's an extra challenge. Yeah, it sets it apart, I think, for sure.
Yeah, what was that prep like in terms of, you know, certain times that you were rehearsing versus shooting, or what was that? Can you tell me more about the dance prep?
I didn't rehearse nearly as much. They had a lot more dance numbers, so they had a lot of like rehearsals, Tammin and the girls. I did watch their videos. I learned off of their videos a lot of the time though, so I saw how hard they were working on and off.
Yeah, I got to pick the songs, which was really fun for me. I got to like figure out what song I thought would be the most appropriate for each team, and then you guys just took it away. I mean, I was lucky. I got to sit in on the rehearsals. Like, so I knew what was going on. I got to sit in and watch the girls just over and over and over. And I mean, and yeah, Tammin multitasking, doing it on your days off and just committing to that, like getting bruises, going like, oh my God, we're slowly killing Tammin.
I need that. Good point.
No, yeah, you guys nailed it. So
What was oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to add to that. I know for Aaliyah and I, and maybe Monroe too, we had to audition with dancing. So kind of dancing had to be a part of our background a little bit. So that was really cool. I know for me, incorporating both acting and dance, this was my first time doing a role where I could do both. So that was really fun. And I think because we all had a little bit of background in dancing, it made rehearsals and everything go by a lot easier because, you know, we're kind of used to doing this already. And even Tammin, you know, just jumping in and rehearsing with us and, you know, working as hard as she did and learning everything with us. That was really cool to see as well. although she would make jokes like, I'm not as good as you guys, but she really stepped in
Oh my
and
God. I was like, what am I doing here? I'm a mom of two.
No, you kept
I-
it
she
up.
did a great job.
I
Yeah.
feel you though, Tammin. I'm not a mom of two, but I am not.
Yeah, but you're a dancer. Don't even start with me.
But-
Like, you're a dancer.
But I had not danced in like 8 years. I would pop into a class here, then I would always be like, oh, this is why I'm not dancing anymore. Got it. I can't throw my body on the ground anymore. I bruise. I take a week to recover. Like, this is not, I'm gonna be 28 years old, which is not very old, but that's
Old,
very
very
different than a 16-year-old body. Okay.
Yeah.
I
So-
think what I'm hearing is maybe the sequel takes place in like a spa and it's just about
Yeah, maybe I'm a dance coach where I just watch them dance.
Yes, okay.
And it's
Courtney, you're just
revealed
like,
that
I
Miss
just-
Jenkins is a dancer by night in the club.
Oh, you're like a night dancer.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Night
watch it.
dancer.
That would be great.
I can't. A
The
dream
lady of the
sequence?
night dancer.
Mrs. Frizzle, I can't.
There's
I can't
Doug.
get that out of
Doug's
my
on
head.
there too. Doug and Mrs. Jenkins, like all dancing at night. We're like, oh,
Some delicious
your
cabbage.
side hustle.
This is really what happens. She's like,
That worth
"Can
it.
you-" I'm like, a spa? Yeah, that's great, Courtney. Let's do it. Oh my
In
gosh.
Italy. Oh my gosh.
Different. Yeah, she gets sentenced to a prison in Italy. That's what
Yes,
happens.
I love this.
There we go.
And then the family and everybody gets to go visit the prison in Italy that has
Yes,
with a lovely
there we
scene.
go. There we go. In the making right now. So, yeah, great.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
Tracy, is it true that this film was inspired perhaps by a true or similar story?
Yes.
Can I hear
Yeah,
about
it
that?
was. Yeah, it was fast. And it's interesting. Since we've made the film, there's been other, I'll call them incidences, and where this is not new. Like there's been stories where, in this particular case, a woman was in her early 30s, had a child when she was young in high school, had to drop out, and yeah, she just felt the most alive when she was in high school, and so she actually got away with it. She re-enrolled in high school, and she basically was charged with identity theft. She didn't hurt anybody. She just felt the most, I think, alive and seen, to Tammin's point earlier, and that was a similar. Yeah, I mean, it was an article that was published a while ago, but and since then other people have, not just women, men have gone back to high school, and I don't think it was, and none of it was like malicious. It was all out of a desire to maybe have a dream that they never got. So it was all out of, obviously this film is very dark and takes it to an entirely different level, but that was the base of just the inspiration for sure. It was fascinating reading all these articles and just like getting into these people's heads and like why they actually took the time to do this. They're like adults working and they're going back to high school. It was like bizarre that they would take the time to do that. And they didn't get, they got caught because of check bounce, I think, in that one particular case. It wasn't that because someone didn't think that they went, were, older than high school. It's crazy. I was like shocked that that happened.
Wow.
Very
Did
cool.
did the real life story affect any directing choices you made when filming?
No, not really. I mean, I think the biggest thing was just the, just maybe talking about like the, Renee's character, like a little bit was, just the inspiration for she just did a couple things that, we kind of, Tammin interpreted it in her own way, but it was the idea that she did change her appearance a little bit and her voice a little bit and her physicality. But it was all inspired. I didn't really personally walk away with like making different specific choices, but it definitely informed, I think, more thinking about the character backstory, which is something you don't always get time to do. At least for me, I was fun. So, and watching a lot of documentaries. Every documentary on cheerleading, you guys. I watched so many documentaries about cheer, and cheerleading and dancing and every high school movie, you know, we watched all of them,
Did you watch Cheer, the TV show?
the whole thing.
I
Yeah.
loved it. I was obsessed.
Yeah. That was a huge resource for me because I didn't realize how competitive cheerleading is, frankly. It's like dangerous, like competitive. Like I'm like, oh, people like can hurt, like
You can
really
die.
injure
One
the
girl
yeah, like
broke like her spine. She can't move from the neck down. She's like 18. Not from that show, but from a very famous cheerleading team.
it's crazy what these people do. Anyway, yes. So lots of research.
Well, in addition to research, were there films that inspired you or that you drew from like maybe cinematography or storytelling perspective?
Oh yeah, I mean, I at least for my process, everyone is a little different, but for me, I'm always like soak everything up, soak all of it up, try to get into the world, into the characters, and maybe a similar way for you guys too, and how you prep for your various roles. For me, it was just like I want to soak up the world and like live in it. So I was listening to soundtracks and watching 10 Things I Hate About You, Heathers, Mean Girls, oh my gosh, Ballet Girl, Real G, like anything that had to do with high school. I was like watching all those movies that were more period than modern day, just because I wanted the tone to reflect that. So yeah, just soaked it all up, watched all those movies. I think, I don't know, some people have caught this, but like Black Swan was a huge reference for the end of the movie. In terms of how they shot the end of that movie. That was my biggest like reference to how we shot the dance sequence and Renee's character like on the stage. That was all inspired by Black Swan. So yeah, and fun little fact. So
That's a good one. So I have a couple more questions here, but I just want to remind the audience, if you have more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'd love to hear them. I have a couple here already. Earlier when we were chatting about the first scene that was filmed being the cupcake scene, somebody asked, is there a reason certain sets film out of order?
They all do.
I know they all, well, any thought for that? Because the Women in Film Project is also here to really educate people who are getting started in the film industry. So if there's anything you could speak to that, maybe Tracy.
yeah, I mean, you don't, sometimes you if you're lucky, you'll film in sequence if it's something really particular, like if it's like somebody has long hair and then they like shave their head halfway through the movie, like maybe, and they don't want to do a wig, you might be forced to film in order. But if it's not something that is like specific, most of the time it's all based on logistics and availability from actors' schedules. Frankly, like the schedule is really dictated by availability of the cast, and then location sometimes, and if it's maybe weather dependent, certain days, you film out of order based on shooting out of location versus ping ponging in every room at all, because then you end up spending more time leapfrogging around different locations. So there's various reasons why you don't film a scene in order, or like in some cases we'll do more like I know towards the end of the movie, Tamara and I were chatting about like what, do we want to film more of the emotional scenes first or towards the end of the day? Or some people like want to get it out of their system. Some people want to work up to it. It just depends on like sometimes actors' preference, location, there's a lot of variables. So
I think the main reason, my husband and I have a production company, the main reason is financial. I think that, for example, if people don't make movies for a living, they don't realize that someone breaks down the script and says, okay, so we're shooting in this location, there's 10 scenes here. So for example, Pretty Little Liars, if you're shooting those 10 scenes, you're not going to go, we're going to shoot the first scene and then the second scene, we're going to go drive to another location. We'll lose 2 hours of time. We have to set up the crew. So you just shoot all the scenes in the locations that you choose for whatever day. So like the first week we're all at a house. So every single thing in the script that is at a house, you shoot in those 2 days.
all of it.
Yeah, and you break it down like, the bedroom. So if they shoot the bedroom first, you'll shoot all the scenes in the bedroom, regardless of where they are in the movie. One might be in the beginning of the movie, might be at the end, one might be in the middle. So as actors, you have to really know where your character's been and where your character's going and where you are emotionally in the script, because a lot of times, like, the directors, producers, makeup, whatever, they're not as worried about that. They're worried about getting their day. And you have to really know, okay, I just came. And of course, Tracy would say, like, look, you just came from something super emotional, like, and now you're playing it happy. But it's your job as an actor to really know where you are in the screenplay, because it's not like theater. Theater is so incredible because you get to have that whole experience from beginning, middle, and end. A film is so chopped up that you don't know, and sometimes you don't even know where you ended the scene because you haven't done the scene before in a different location. So you don't even know to what level, you might be to a level 5, but then when you end up shooting the scene before, you ended up at a level 7. So it's trying to figure out where you're going to go, and sort of like a puzzle, try to figure it out as an actor. But I'd say mainly the locations are shooting out of order is because you have to shoot in different locations to save money.
And sometimes you die on the first day.
Yeah.
From there.
Yeah.
But that's like one of our jobs as actors, I feel like, is to be able to like know where you are in a story. Like, am I mad at my mom right now? Are we on good terms? Like, just knowing where you are in the script.
The first scene of this movie, I was making out with what's his face, right? The first scene. That was my first scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it might have been like the third scene up,
I think
but
it was
day
the
one.
second. I think it was the second. Yeah.
It was day
and
one.
I didn't even know him. I'd never even met him. I was like, hey, how's it going? Grab her butt.
I did not say that. I'm just gonna say.
You kind of did. Like, you were like, just, as a kid.
Yeah, that is, yes. Try to avoid that when possible. You were a trooper. So.
Look, I get my thrills when I can. I've been married for a very long time, so I get paid. It's my job.
Yeah, in terms of the order of filming and kind of that tight schedule that you guys had with the, it was a very quick turnaround. I think you said 15, 13 days, something like that. Were there spontaneous changes or things that you had to pivot with during the filmmaking process, or things that were different that made it into the final picture?
I can think of a couple things. AP Robinson, Doug's office was supposed to be shot somewhere different. I don't even know if you knew this, but we're supposed to film in a different space. And like a couple hours before we were supposed to shoot, I was told that we couldn't use that space. I mean, I understood why. Like, it was a legitimate reason. Like, there was some just miscommunication, but so it was just like we had to throw out the shot list and figure out a whole new way of making it work, and we did. But yeah, like, just like pivoting, like Renee's house, we found the day before we started shooting, the weekend before, we found the house. The very last thing we found was I think I scouted like 15 homes before I found that Renee's house. It was just, that was so, and just like pivoting and having to reorder certain things. So I don't think, certain days, but just the weather, like certain days we had to reschedule stuff. But the main thing is always locations and like trying to figure out how to get around stuff when that doesn't work out. But yeah, those are minor things.
It's still really neat in seeing really the behind the scenes of how the film was made. Those are all the questions that I have, but I want to give the floor, Tracy, if you have any final words, or anybody, if you want to tell people, remind them where they can see the film and really what's next for you too as well.
The film is streaming on Tubi. So someone just asked, where's the bloopers reel? Thanks, Mom. Yeah. No, we don't. That would be fun. I feel like there's definitely bloopers in this. We all had fun with this movie. I know it's on Tubi. We're so excited. It's been doing really well, and I think the biggest thing, is being here and obviously supporting the film and rating the film on IMDb is really helpful. The more people that see it, the more likely we'll get a sequel. So that is the hope.
Amazing. Yeah. So if you
Yeah.
can all go and give it a view on Tubi, if you haven't already, go and give 5 stars on IMDb. We'd love to support the film. And so excited that we got to have this conversation today. You guys have been
Yeah,
amazing.
thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
It's so nice to see everybody in one virtual room. It's been since the
Yeah.
film, frankly, we haven't all been together since we wrapped photography like last year. So
We're
Any
almost
final
all
words, guys?
together 2 weeks ago. Almost.
almost. I know, guys. I know we were all there in spirit.
We'll be there for the sequel.
Yes.
Really at a spa.
Yeah.
Right.
Sweat and acupuncture.
No, Tracy and I, my husband and I wrote a treatment. Tracy and I came up with the story. My husband and I wrote a treatment for the sequel. So hopefully we're putting it out there that we're manifesting that it's going to happen. It starts in jail. So let's hope it happens.
Cool.
And then we end up Monroe in Mexico. So, I mean, Mexico vacation.
I'm just saying. We're ready.
We're gonna have fun.
I'm so excited. No, well, thanks. I'm just so happy that Women in Film Project had us today. Thank you, Morgan, for hosting. And obviously this has been recorded, so we can share this with people who weren't able to make it today. But no, it's so fun, and the support is just overwhelming, and so we should all just soak it up. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you
All right, you
all
guys.
again. I'm going to sign
Yes.
off and close the Zoom, but I hope you all have a fantastic day, and we'll talk when the sequel's out.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
See you guys.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.